Part 46. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 451. Mu Zi can probably guess Jiao Jingjia's thoughts. It was nothing more than watching her save Mrs. Fu's child and wanting her to help plead for mercy. If she agreed easily, it would be too cheap, so Mu Zi rejected Jiao Jingjia's request. 2 days later, the governor's secretary and Mrs. Fu came to visit. They came here specially to thank Mu Zi, so they went directly to Xiaoanglu. When Fu Chejun saw Mu Zi, he excitedly introduced to her husband, "This is Miss Mu Zi, the snake she raised saved our daughter." The governor's secretary is called Wei Chengxian, 10 years older than Fu Chejun. With deep smile lines on his face, he said, "Miss Mu, I already know what happened that day. You can save my daughter in that situation, very bold." "Thank you so much." "You're too polite," Mu Zi said modestly. "Actually, you really don't need to thank me, I just did my part." The one who really saved Lin Qinjin was precisely herself. "If it wasn't for her holding the ball of wool at that time, let it go, I can't help it." Mu Zi didn't take credit for being arrogant, and praised their child's intelligence, which made both Wei Chengxian and Fu Chejun laugh happily. Fu Chejun smiled and said, "Is there really a destiny in this world? After my baby went back that day, she refused to let go. When I took it off, she cried loudly. She had to hold the ball of wool to sleep." Her husband patted her hand lightly, and said, "Don't think that because your daughter is young, she doesn't know anything. I see, she actually understands in her heart that that thing is her amulet." The corner of Mu Zi's mouth twitched slightly. "She thinks that Sisi should be depressed, the sweater, it seems that she can't get it back." "Sure enough," Fu Chejun said in the second sentence, "Miss Mu, can you sell me that ball of wool? I can exchange it with you for other things. I'm sorry, but my daughter really can't let go. As a mother, I can't bear to let her cry." "It's okay, I can understand." Mu Zi smiled coyly. Unexpectedly, a dilapidated sweater would become a treasure now, and snakes would snatch it, and people would snatch it too. Fu Chejun was very happy, and asked, "Miss Mu, I can't ask for your things for nothing. If you have anything you like, or if you have any requests, you can tell me, and I will try my best to do it." Mu Zi couldn't help but look at the presents they brought. They almost piled up into a hill. Secretary Wei laughed heartily. "Miss Mu, you don't have to feel burdened. My wife is such a person, once she receives someone's favor, she will be very grateful, and she can't wait to send all the good things in the world to the other party." At this time, Bai Wei came over with tea. Fu Chejun took the teacup from her hand, and said apologetically, "Mrs. Bai, I treated you badly that day. I'm really sorry. Ever since I had a child, I've been too sensitive and acted impulsively, which offended you. Very sorry." Bai Wei was suddenly apologetic. She was taken aback, and hurriedly said, it's okay, there were too many guests that day, you have to take care of the children, and you have to socialize, how can you cover everything? I can understand." Fu Chejun looked at Bai Wei carefully, seeing that there was no trace of resentment in her eyes, and her demeanor was calm and peaceful. Fu Chejun couldn't help sighing softly in his heart. She felt that Bai Wei was extremely pure and kind, but it was really wrong for her to listen and believe so much that she misunderstood him. Thinking of this, Fu Chejun hated Jiao Jingjia even more. He hated himself even more, and kept an ungrateful and vicious villain by his side, not only hurting himself, but also almost hurting the child. Fu Chejun felt remorse and regret in his heart. When leaving, Fu Chejun repeatedly emphasized to Mu Zi, "Ms. Mu has any difficulties, please tell me. You saved my daughter, and you are the benefactor of my whole family." In this way, not only did Jiao Jingjia's plot fail to succeed, but on the contrary, Mu Zi made friends with Mrs. Fu. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 452. It was a blessing in disguise for the Mu family to have friendship with the governor's secretary and Mrs. Fu, and this matter was widely spread among the wealthy circle. Gu Liang naturally knew it too. Tongwu said to Gu Liang, I left early that day, and I couldn't appreciate Miss Mu's heroic appearance, it's a pity. Gu Liang smiled lightly, it's a pity, the rumors outside have been ups and downs, I don't know if the inside story is more exciting. Tongwu heard the implication, and asked tentatively, Master, why don't you take this opportunity to ask Miss Uemu to come out? Gu Liang has long wanted to ask Muzi out, but he suffered from not having a suitable opportunity. He is much older than Muzi, so he didn't want to act anxious and scare the little girl. Last time, I wanted to make an appointment with Muzi through Zhuangxia, but Muzi was not in Xinjiang during the Chinese New Year. Master, you can ask Ms. Mu about raising snakes, Tongwu suggested. Gu Liang glanced at Tongwu, and said with a smile, this reason is a bit lame, however, it shouldn't hurt to use a lame reason once in a while. Tongwu laughed, Master, you are too particular. He had never seen which woman Gu Liang wanted to date, so he looked forward and backward, and even had to think twice about the reasons. Gu Liang seemed to see what Tongwu was thinking, and said, I am only afraid of two kinds of women, one wants to take my feelings, and the other has no desire for me, and the other has no desire for me, and the other has no desire and no demand. Just like Muzi, I don't know how to control it. As the successor of the head of the family, he is used to being in control of everything. Muzi was an accident in Gu Liang's life. The thrill she brought to him was something he had never experienced in so many years. Gu Liang cherished it very much. He pondered for a while, and said slowly, let's say that I have an uncle who also likes to raise snakes. I like her, and I want to invite her to dinner. By the way, I will ask her for advice on raising snakes. Maybe I can use it when dealing with that uncle in the future, got it? Tongwu went to call Muzi according to his words, and he replied to Gu Liang after a while, Miss Mu agreed. The corners of Gu Liang's lips were raised, and his heart was bright. He picked up his coat, walked out of the office, thinking, it's a rare date, we should prepare a gift for Muzi. The best gift for a woman is jewelry. Gu Liang went to the largest famous jewelry store in Xinjiang city. He has a high vision, and ordinary jewels can't catch his eyes, so he finally settles on a pair of pink diamond earrings. Pink diamonds have always been the darling of diamonds, especially those with pure color and luster, which are even more expensive. This pair of pink diamond earrings is clear and gorgeous, fresh and pure, very suitable for Muzi's temperament, but the price is expensive. Of course, Gu Liang is not unable to afford it, nor does he care about money, but his character is more cautious, and he is worried that Muzi will not accept the gift that is too expensive for the first date. Judging from his several experiences with Muzi is a very principled girl, and she might refuse a big gift for no reason. Gu Liang was hesitating when someone next to him picked up the pair of earrings from his hand, and said humanely, this one looks good. Dare to snatch something from the dignified young Master Gu, it is tantamount to snatching food from a tiger's mouth, who is so bold? Gu Liang raised his eyebrows and looked, seeing that it was Huo Rong from the Huo family, he couldn't help but smile. Master Rong remembered choosing jewelry today, he is in a good mood. Wrap it up, Murong Cheng ordered the clerk, then turned to look at Gu Liang, and said with a smile, isn't it almost Valentine's Day, prepare some small gifts. Can such a gift be considered a small gift? Gu Liang intuited that the woman Murong Cheng was going to give as a gift had an extraordinary status, but then he remembered that Huo Lin from the Huo family seemed to be returning to China soon, so could this gift be for his fiancée? It's also reasonable. At this time, Murong Cheng asked him, just now I saw that you were very careful when choosing gifts, which talented woman did you fall in love with this time? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 453. Gu Liang is famous for admiring talented women. Gu Liang always said that the skin of a beautiful woman is perishable, but the bones of a beautiful woman are hard to find. In his opinion, a woman with wisdom and ability can be regarded as having a beautiful bone. Murong Cheng asked Gu Liang who he fell in love with, and Gu Liang smiled elegantly and softly. How did Master Rong decide who I fell in love with? Can't I buy it for my elders? Murong Cheng's eyebrows were slightly raised, and there was a smile in his eyes. Give pink diamonds to elders. Most of these things are given to little girls. Gu Liang, you have to take it easy, don't provoke minors, be careful of the generation gap. Insinuating that Gu Liang is old. Gu Liang was not annoyed, and said with a smile, you probably don't know, but today's little girls love older ones. There is another word called uncle control. When I get older, maybe it will be more popular. Murong Cheng laughed. It was rare for the two to meet each other, and they chatted for a few more words. Gu Liang asked Murong Cheng, the old uncles of the Huo family, have they stopped recently? It's okay, Murong Cheng said, some people want to take care of themselves, and some people are always unwilling to accept old age. They probably need to see some blood to learn how to be good. Gu Liang remembered Murong Cheng's ruthless methods, and frowned slightly. I just finished the new year, and it's not good to be bloody. I don't think it looks good either, but some people just like it. Murong Cheng smiled and didn't take it seriously. It's better for you, Gu family, everyone is so obedient. Gu Liang said, because my surname is Gu. Murong Cheng jokingly said, it's as if your old man's other sons and grandsons don't have the surname Gu. Gu Liang smiled without saying a word. The clerk handed the packaged jewelry to Murong Cheng, and Murong Cheng took the things and left. Before leaving, Gu Liang told him, be careful, after the Chinese New Year, Huo Lin will come back again. I'm afraid someone will take the opportunity to make trouble. I know it well. Murong Cheng waved his hand and left. Gu Liang watched Murong Cheng's figure leave, and gradually regained his senses, remembering that he hadn't bought a gift yet. He went to the counter and continued to choose, but he didn't meet the one he wanted. Thinking of the pair of pink diamond earrings just now, I can't help but feel a little pity. Muzi has fair skin and a delicate face. If she can wear that pair of earrings, it will definitely add a lot of color. However, it is indeed too expensive, and Muzi will definitely not accept it. Thinking of this, Gu Liang was relieved, and he took a fancy to an emerald brooch again, guessing that the price should be within the range that Muzi could accept, so he bought the brooch. This brooch matches her, it is noble and elegant, and it looks good too. Gu Liang thought to himself, I'll buy pink diamonds for her after I get familiar with it. As long as you look for it carefully, you can buy good pink diamonds in the future. If Muzi likes it, it's okay to give pink diamonds every year. Gu Liang never thought that Muzi would refuse. It's not that he is arrogant, it's that he really thinks that with Muzi's intelligence, he should understand what it means to be his woman. No woman will say no. Muzi hadn't had 2 days of peace at home, and Xiao Jingjia asked to see her again. This time, Xiao Jingjia also asked someone to bring a message, saying that as long as Muzi went to see her, she would tell Muzi a very important secret. Zhang Si was puzzled, and discussed with Muzi on the phone, I don't know what tricks this woman is going to play again. She's at the end of her rope, so of course she has to show her whole cards. Muzi smiled, it's just right, I also want to see what her whole cards are. Are you really going to see her? Zhang Si asked. And Muzi seemed to have expected this moment. Her tone was calm, the judicial procedure that should be done is almost over, she must be terrified to death, and only by going to see her now can I get the greatest benefit. Putting Qiao Jingjia in prison was never Mu Ziyi's goal. If Qiao Jingjia was put in prison so easily, then the clues to her death would be broken. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 454. Mu Ziyi went to see Qiao Jingjia. After only a few days of seeing each other, Qiao Jingjia was already emaciated. His face was pale, his eyes were black and blue, and his eyes looked at people with a kind of madness struggling in despair. Mu Ziyi even suspected that even if she asked Qiao Jingjia to kneel and kowtow now, Qiao Jingjia would do so without hesitation. As soon as they met, before Mu Ziyi could speak, Qiao Jingjia couldn't wait to speak. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I shouldn't have targeted you again and again, Mu Ziyi, I beg you. Forgive me, please. As if she had never heard of it, Mu Ziyi sat down slowly in front of Qiao Jingjia, elegant and quiet. Qiao Jingjia begged again, I was deceived by lard, Mu Ziyi, you have a lot, don't worry about me, okay. I'm not an adult, Mu Ziyi said. Qiao Jingjia choked, and continued, I really didn't mean anything malicious, I know your snakes don't bite people, so I came up with this method. Mu Ziyi, you should know, I left the procuratorate because of you. For the sake of my future, I have to play tricks, but I really have no intention of harming anyone. Look, isn't Mrs. Fu's baby alright? Mu Ziyi shook her head, you left the procuratorate on your own accord, and it has nothing to do with me. Qiao Jingjia clogged her throat with a mouthful of bad blood, almost spitting it out. Mu Ziyi's words were exposing her scars, she wished she could pounce on her and tear the girl in front of her alive. But no. Mu Ziyi is her last hope, she must persuade Mu Ziyi to rescue herself. Yes, I did it on my own. Qiao Jingjia clenched her hands tightly, suppressing her anger. Now, I have learned my lesson, Mu Ziyi, you are kind and sensible, and you saved Mrs. Fu's child. As long as you intercede with her, she will definitely betray you. You will not watch me suffer in prison, will you? Mu Ziyi couldn't help laughing. Qiao Jingjia was really willing to say anything in order to save herself, even being kind and sensible. Mu Ziyi curled the corners of her lips, she didn't speak, only a slight sarcasm appeared in her eyes. Qiao Jingjia is a fine individual, and she is best at trying to figure out the other party's mind, otherwise she wouldn't be Fu's assistant. As soon as she saw Mu Ziyi's expression, she knew that Mu Ziyi didn't see a rabbit or a hawk. Qiao Jingjia threw out the bait, Mu Ziyi, as long as you are willing to help me, I can tell you everything I know. Don't you want to know your own life experience? I'm not curious at all why you were adopted by the Mu family. Mu Ziyi thought about it, this is a bit interesting. Okay, tell me. Mu Ziyi smiled. Qiao Jingjia said, your mother is Bai Wei's friend. After she was abandoned by a man, she found out that she was pregnant with a child, so she went to Bai Wei and stayed at Mu's house. Bai Wei took care of your mother until she gave birth, but she was giving birth to you. After that, she chose to commit suicide because of postpartum depression. That's why Bai Wei adopted you. Mu Ziyi looked at her quietly, her eyes were calm and clear, not disturbed. This is the secret you want to tell, Mu Ziyi smiled lightly, you can find any old servant of the Mu family to inquire about this kind of news. You use it to make a deal with me, isn't it a bit, lack of sincerity? Qiao Jingjia panicked, I can check it for you after I go out. I will check it for you. What is your mother's name? Why did you separate from your father? I will find it out for you. When it comes to finding clues, I have someone more suitable than you. Musa shook her head lightly, and said lightly, well, I can't come here in vain today, I will give you one last chance, if your answer satisfies me, I will find a way to get you out. Xiao Jingjia immediately said, "As long as you can rescue me, I will promise you anything." Mu Zi asked her, "How did Su Zi die?" "Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 455. Xiao Jingjia's expression froze, her eyes stared blankly at Mu Zi, dull. She couldn't figure it out. At this juncture, Mu Zi didn't care about her own life experience, but instead asked about the cause of Su Zi's death. "Why? Su Zi, isn't she Su Zi? Did she accidentally fall into the river?" Xiao Jingjia replied blankly. "Really?" Mu Zi lowered her eyes, her thick eyelashes concealed the waves of emotion, and said calmly, "Then, I don't think we need to continue talking." She got up to leave. Xiao Jingjia panicked, wait. Mu Zi, what do you want to know?" "Su Zi did fall into the river and die." Mu Zi stopped, turned around and looked at Xiao Jingjia, her eyes were clear and cold. "Are you still unwilling to tell? What did you put in Su Zi wine? Do you need me to remind you again now?" Xiao Jingjia's eyes widened in astonishment, and she seemed to freeze. How do you know? She kept this matter secret, no one would know about it?" "Not only do I know, I also have evidence." Mu Zi sneered, "Xiao Jingjia, you poured medicine into her wine and was photographed by the guests on the boat." Xiao Jingjia was struck by lightning when she heard the words, and couldn't recover for a while. Mu Zi continued, "Of course, I can understand. Compared with the crime of kidnapping a child, the crime of homicide is too serious. You can't lose more than you gain, right?" Xiao Jingjia turned pale and shouted, "I didn't kill anyone. I didn't." Fearing that Mu Zi would not believe it, she said excitedly, "Mu Zhenning gave me the medicine. It was Mu Zhenning who asked me to put it in the Su Zi wine. This matter has nothing to do with me. I'm just helping him." Mu Zi's heart twitched violently. "You said, it was Mu Zhenning." She couldn't believe it. Why did Mu Zhenning do this? Xiao Jingjia was eager to get rid of the relationship, and told Mu Zi everything. That day was the New Year's anniversary of Mu Zhenning and Su Zi. Since they got married, they haven't had any relationship. Mu Zhenning feels that his illness, it was almost cured, so I wanted to try it, and I was afraid that Su Zi would not want it, so I bought some medicine to cheer me up. Accident. Mu Zhenning is sick. What's wrong? Mu Zi frowned. When mentioning this matter, Xiao Jingjia looked a little uncomfortable. She lowered her head and said, "That happened 2 weeks before his marriage. At that time, I went to Mu's house to pick up a document for Su Zi, and Mu Zhenning happened to be going to pick it up after Su Zi got off work. He drove to the procuratorate with me, but we encountered gangsters on the way. Mu Zhenning was injured." Xiao Jingjia bit her lip, and then continued, He was seriously injured there and urgently needed medical treatment, but this kind of thing is a great shame to a man. Mu Zhenning didn't tell Su Zi that the wedding will be held as usual, and I don't know if Su Zi it wasn't because she was immersed in the grief of grandma's death. She didn't even notice that something happened to her husband. Mu Zi tried her best to recall, but the memory picture in her mind was blurred, and she couldn't remember it. When she first got married, she really lived in a muddle. Whenever she thought of her grandma, she shed tears, and she didn't notice Mu Zhenning's abnormality at all. No wonder Mu Zhenning never asked her that kind of request. She thought that Mu Zhenning was concerned about her sudden loss of a loved one, and wanted to be a filial piety to his grandmother. It turned out that he didn't want to, but he couldn't. Mu Zhenning was injured in that kind of place. Both physical therapy and psychological therapy needed the assistance of female friends. I thought that his injury was also related to me, so I volunteered to participate in his treatment process. As for Su Zi, she probably trying to get out of grief by working day and night, neglecting her husband, and not knowing anything about it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 456. Speaking of Suzy I, Xiao Jingjia showed contempt. We have been married for a whole year, Mu Zhenning has never touched Suzy I, and Suzy I has never even asked. It can be seen that she does not love Zhenning at all, let alone care about Mu Zhenning. What happened to Zhenning? She is not worthy to be a wife. After Xiao Jingjia finished speaking, seeing Mu Zhi in front of her had a strange look on her face, her heart skipped a beat, wondering if she had talked too much. She immediately turned the topic back, and argued that medicine is really just a fun medicine, and it won't have any effect on the human body. It's sold in general adult goods stores. Then why did you trick Suzy I to go to the bao? Mu Zhi asked. Xiao Jingjia couldn't help shivering, she even felt terrified. Even Mu Zhenning didn't know that she tricked Suzy I to go to the bow of the boat. How did Mu Zhi know? At that time, it was clear that she and Suzy I were the only two people. Could it be that a bug was installed on that ship? What else does Mu Zhi know? Xiao Jingjia was timid and didn't dare to lie. She explained, I was out of breath. I helped Mu Zhenning cure his illness, and he was almost cured, but he turned around and went to Suzy I, asking for help. I bought medicine for him. So, I tricked Suzy I to go to the bow, in order to let her and Mu Zhenning avoid it. Xiao Jingjia repeatedly emphasized, Suzy I's death was really an accident. I tricked her to go to the bow, I really just didn't want her to meet Mu Zhenning. I didn't harm her, and it's impossible to harm her. The terrified waves in Mu Zhi's heart slowly and gradually returned to calm, like the dead silence of the ancient well. It was eerily quiet. The first half of her life was really like a joke. You helped Mu Zhenning treat him. What exactly did you do? Mu Zhi asked lightly. This question was embarrassing. Xiao Jingjia didn't want to answer it, but now she had something to ask from Mu Zhi, so she could only suppress the unwillingness and anger in her heart, and pretended to cooperate. Medicines, cleansing, sometimes, I'll play his wife and we'll have some intimate contact. The corner of Mu Zhi's lips curled up into a sneer. Xiao Jingjia, you are so great. To help other people's husbands, you are willing to go so far. Xiao Jingjia felt ashamed and annoyed when she was poked at the sore spot, but she didn't dare to provoke Mu Zhi, so she could only forcefully suppress the arrogance in her heart, and said, Are you satisfied now? I've already told you everything I know. You must rescue me. Mu Zhi said, Don't worry, I am a person who keeps my word. She got up indifferently, and Xiao Jingjia asked anxiously, What are you going to tell Mrs. Fu? Are you sure to persuade her? Don't worry about this. Mu Zhi stopped looking at her, and said in a cold voice, Anyway, I will convince her. Mu Zhi left the detention center. Zhang Xi was waiting for her outside. What did she say? Zhang Xi asked. Mu Zhi exhaled lightly, and leaned her back against the wall. She still insists that my death was an accident. Mu Zhi briefly told Zhang Xi what Xiao Jingjia said. In short, the medicine is just an ordinary sex medicine, there is no conspiracy, no trap. I was unlucky and accidentally fell into the river. Mu Zhi laughed at herself. I died so worthless. But you said that you were pushed, so what's going on? Zhang Xi frowned, feeling that the whole thing didn't make sense. Is it really your hallucination? Can the medicine make people have such a real hallucination? The medicine was prepared by Mu Zhenning. If you want to know the efficacy and side effects of the medicine, you can only ask him. Mu Zhi said. Zhang Xi nodded and said, I'll check his transaction records first, but it's been half a year, so it might take some time to check. No hurry. Mu Zhi smiled slightly. At this point, some things, actually don't matter anymore. In the final analysis, her death turned out to be just an accident. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 457. I suddenly felt that she was like a person who was chasing desperately, exhausted after chasing, but suddenly found that the direction she was chasing was empty and meaningless. The longer time passed, the more blurred the scene before her death, and she became more and more uncertain whether the moment she was pushed was a hallucination. Zhang Ci sent I away. The sun was shining brightly outside, and although the air was still cold, the green belt beside the road had grown new green, showing signs that spring was coming. I was waiting for a taxi under a tree. When she looked up, she could see young green shoots emerging from the dry tree tops. The new life made her gloomy mood slightly better. I took a taxi to the governor's secretary's house. The position of the governor's secretary is very special. It seems that he does not occupy a high position, but he has close ties with countless senior officials. The affairs he is in charge of are also closely related to the governor, which is equivalent to the second in command of a state. The most subtle thing is that the governor's term of office has a limited number of years, but the secretary does not. Therefore, Wei Changxian has been in this position for 20 years and has assisted 2 governors. In terms of power, Wei Changxian is not as good as the governor, but his connections and prestige are definitely not much lower than the governor. In addition to Mr. Fu Chu, it can be said that Muse's befriending this couple has greatly helped Muse, which is immeasurable. Muse's sudden visit surprised Fu Chajun. Fu Chajun was pushing the stroller, and together with the nanny, he was taking the baby to bask in the sun on the beautiful green lawn. There is no wind today, and the sun is shining warmly. Spread a layer of cotton tablecloth on the white oak table in the garden, and then serve black tea and cake. It is a pleasant afternoon tea time. Fu Chajun asked the nanny to take the child back to the house, while he and Muse stayed in the garden to talk. In the delicate painted white porcelain teacup, the black tea is mellow and sweet. Muse took a sip before explaining why she came. Madam Fu, I'm here today because I have something to ask. Ms. Fu was a little surprised when she heard the words, and then a little happy. She didn't expect that Muse would ask her so soon, but this also happened to show that Muse didn't see anything outside of her, so Ms. Fu was surprised and happy at the same time. What's the matter? Fu Chajun asked her. Muse didn't hesitate, and said directly, I just went to see Qiao Jingjia. Today I came to see Madam. I want to intercede for Qiao Jingjia. Madam, please hold her hand high and let her go. Fu Chajun's complexion suddenly darkened, and his eyes were filled with anger. Qiao Jingjia lied to her, used her, and even used her child as a stepping stone. Fu Chajun hated Qiao Jingjia to the bone. But as soon as Muse opened her mouth, she asked her to let Qiao Jingjia go. Muse had expected Fu Chajun's reaction in this way, so she was not in a hurry, and took a few sips of tea slowly. It took a while for Fu Chajun to resist the urge to throw up his sleeves and leave. Muse saved her child, she should respect it? Fu Chajun asked in a deep voice, why? Muse put down the teacup and asked without answering, Madam, do you hate Qiao Jingjia? Of course Fu Chajun frowned, and his tone was decisive, I wish I could crush her. I hate her too. Muse smiled lightly and said, I have some issues with her, so I won't tell Madam in detail. I just think that if she is really put in prison, wouldn't it be a bit too cheap for her? Fu Chajun's eyes flickered slightly, and there was a smile in his eyes. You mean? Muse said, the characterization of a case is mainly based on the criminal purpose of the perpetrator. If Qiao Jingjia stole infants and young children for the purpose of extorting property, it should be a crime of kidnapping. If she aimed to sell infants and young children, then it's the crime of abducting and trafficking children, but she didn't do it for money, she designed such a scene just to show off, so in the end, her crime will probably be classified as the crime of illegal detention. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 458. Fu Chejun's expression was slightly stern, and his expression was a little dignified. Mu Zi went on to say, illegal detention, if there are long-term imprisonment, insults and beatings and other bad behaviors, you will be given a heavy sentence, but Jiao Jingjia did not cause any direct harm to your child. Year. Mu Zi raised her eyes, facing Fu Chejun with clear and cold eyes, and asked, Madam, 3 years in prison, can you relieve your hatred? Just 3 years, can it solve the hatred? Of course not. Fu Chejun thought of the deception she had suffered, and her daughters almost falling into the ice cave. She wished she could send Jiao Jingjia into hell and never recover. 3 years in prison, how can you relieve your hatred? At this time, Fu Chejun finally understood Mu Zi's intentions. Mu Zi lowered her eyes, and her gaze fell on the teacup in front of her, as calm as the warm and fragrant black tea. Mrs. Fu, you have connections and abilities. As long as Jiao Jingjia is still in Xinjiang City, what do you want to do? The only thing is that you can't let her go to jail. Prison is a safe haven. Although there is no freedom, it is very comfortable and you don't have to worry about it every day. Food and clothing, without having to face scary people, it's so comfortable. Fu Chejun's mind became active. She is originally a smart person, but sometimes she is unavoidable to be arrogant, she will be blinded, and she will listen and believe, but as long as she calms down, she can understand many things without talking too much. Miss Mu, thank you for speaking to me today. Fu Chejun smiled. This is agreed. It's because I'm too abrupt, Madam Fu don't think I'm busy. Mu Zi also laughed. After finishing the matter, Mrs. Fu sent the family's driver to take Mu Zi home. When the car was driving on the road, Mu Zi saw clusters of beautiful roses outside the flower shop on the street, and she suddenly remembered that there was an important festival in February, Valentine's Day. It's already out today anyway, so why not go shopping for a while, there's no need to rush back. Mu Zi asked the driver to stop on the side of the road. She got out of the car and walked slowly on the street, occasionally seeing couples passing by. Mu Zi felt a little flustered at the tip of her heart, she would think of her and Murong Cheng. It feels sweet and awkward and kind of embarrassing. Thinking of Murong Cheng's overbearing, if she didn't prepare a gift for Valentine's Day, he would definitely not let her go. Maybe he will use this as a reason to punish her. This scoundrel. The corners of Mu Zi's lips curled up slightly, and she walked into a gift shop. She picked and picked, but she couldn't find a suitable gift, and felt that nothing was suitable for her. Murong Cheng is rich and powerful, Mu Zi really doesn't know what he lacks. If Mu Zi had Baiwei's skills, she might be able to knit a sweater or make a cake by herself, but she doesn't know how to. When I was in a difficult situation, I accidentally saw a bakery workshop. There was a DIY area in it, full of young girls, laughing and making handmade chocolates. The glass window was bright and clear, and Mu Zi watched them stir the melted chocolate, slowly pour it into the mold, and shape it. It seems very simple. Mu Zi thought for a while, then walked in. Mu Zi chose high-quality raw materials, did not make sandwiches, and the mold was in the shape of a little devil. Firstly, she thinks their love is sweet but bitter. Secondly, she thinks that Murong Cheng is a bully, and the comparison with the devil is perfect. The finished chocolate is wrapped in golden tin foil, the outer layer is beautiful wrapping paper, tied with a ribbon bow. This is a Valentine's Day gift. It was the first time for Mu Zi to spend so much effort on a Valentine's Day gift at such a young age. She was a little complacent, and her mood was inexplicably high. Mu Zi took the gift to Huake Entertainment City. She went to the underground parking lot, took a special passage and took a special elevator. The bodyguards knew her, so they didn't stop her. The elevator door is about to open, and there is a screeching sound of brakes coming from behind. Muzi turned her head to look, and saw Wang Zhan helping Murong Cheng, who was covered in blood, get out of the car. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 459. Muse's breathing stopped, and even her heartbeat seemed to have stopped. How is this going? When Wang Zhan saw Muzi, he was also shocked. Secretly said, if you don't come sooner or later, why come at this time? There was no time to explain. Wang Zhan and another person carried Murong Cheng into the elevator quickly, followed by several doctors in white coats. Each doctor was carrying various medical equipment. Muse followed in a daze, his whole mind was buzzing and he couldn't think. She stared blankly at Murong Cheng's pale side face, her heart tightened up and down. It hurts. Murong Cheng's consciousness was not completely unconscious, he opened his eyes intermittently, seemed to see Muzi, and murmured her name, Zi. When Muzi heard his hoarse and feeble voice, her eyes suddenly turned red and she almost shed tears. How could it be like this? Well done, why did it suddenly become like this? On the top floor is Murong Cheng's special restroom. He often experienced dangers, and the basic medicines in the room were back up, and with the things brought by the doctor, a simple surgical operation could be performed. While Murong Cheng was having surgery inside, Muzi was waiting outside. She was dumbfounded, her fingers unconsciously clenched the chocolate in her hand, feeling cold all over her body. The atrium is like a broken window in winter, with gusts of cold wind pouring in, making her completely chilled. Seeing that Wang Zhan couldn't bear it, he comforted her in a low voice, "Don't worry, it's just a minor injury. Master Rong survived the more serious injuries before." Before he finished speaking, he suddenly felt stupid, and changed his words embarrassingly, "The bullet missed the vital point, as long as you take out the bullet, Master Rong will be fine." Muzi's expression was a little dazed, and Murong Cheng's blood kept flashing before his eyes. On the white shirt, there were patches of red and patches of black, which were shockingly soaked and flowing. When she lowered her eyes, she could see dark red marks drop after drop on the blue-gray carpet. Muzi wanted to ask something, but her voice was dull, dry, and stiff. Why did he get hurt? Wang Zhan looked troubled. Muzi's eyes fell on the hem of Wang Zhan's clothes, where there was a charred hole. "Are you hurt too?" she asked. Wang Zhan hurriedly said, "No, no." He took out a deformed copper coin from his coat pocket, feeling very emotional. "It's a fate, the bullet was blocked by the copper coin, or it should have pierced the intestines." Muzi was silent for a while, then asked again, "Where did you accompany Master Rong today?" "Let's go to the airport." Wang Zhan stopped talking for some reason, and faltered. Muzi looked at him quietly, her eyes were cold, as if she had no emotion. "Go to the airport to pick up someone." Wang Zhan didn't dare to look Muzi in the eyes, and finished the second half of the sentence in embarrassment. "Huolin is back, isn't it?" Muzi said lightly. "When you encountered an assassination, he was injured in order to save Huolin." Wang Zhan's back was covered with cold sweat, and he thought to himself, "Oops. Miss Mu is too smart, she guessed everything right. This is how to do. This situation is even worse than an ambush at the airport. It's even trickier. Miss Mu, please don't misunderstand." Wang Zhan wanted to explain, but when the words came to his lips, he felt unable to explain. "What is wrong?" There was no misunderstanding at all. Murong Cheng did block the gun for Huolin. This is the fact. Muzi didn't ask any further questions. She sat on a soft sofa chair, silently. After an unknown amount of time, the door of the inner room opened, and a doctor stood by the door, took off his mask, and said, "Master Wrong, let Miss Mew in." Musy Eye looked over in a daze. She wanted to get up, but found that her legs were weak and she couldn't stand up. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mew Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 460. The door was half open, and there were small voices coming from inside. Musy Eye felt that the voice vaguely resembled that of Murong Cheng. She stared blankly at the half-covered door, as if she could see through it and see clearly what was going on inside. "Miss Mew," Wang Zhan tried to call softly. Musy Eye came back to her senses, glanced at him, then got up without saying a word, and walked into the room slowly. The doctor then closed the door. Wang Zhan waited at the door for a while, and even listened to it for a while. It was quiet inside, without the fierce quarrel he had imagined. Wang Zhan breathed a sigh of relief. Musy Eye walked into the room, and saw light blue medical curtains hanging around the bed. One of the curtains was pulled open, and the doctor was doing the final stitching of the wound. Murong Cheng was sober, his dark eyes were looking at her firmly. He looked a little, not like him. Just now when he got into the elevator, Musy Eye was frightened by the black and red blood stains on his body, and had no time to take care of it, but now that he looked at his face squarely, he noticed the difference. Murong Cheng's hairstyle is different, his skin color has also become darker, and there is still a hideous scar on his face, like an old wound from many years ago, slanting across his forehead, occupying half of his face. Musy Eye knew in her heart that this was Murong Cheng's second face, Huo Rong. Hairstyles can easily change a person's appearance and temperament. Coupled with different skin colors, it is easier to distinguish, not to mention that there is such a symbolic scar on the face. Even if someone finds that Huo Rong's facial features are similar to the fourth young master of the Mew family, they will never think that they are the same person. A doctor gave Musy Eye a chair so that she could sit by the bed and accompany Murong Cheng. Musy Eye sat down and quietly watched the doctor busy. Neither of them spoke. Wang Zhan didn't lie to her. It was indeed just a minor operation. The bullet was taken out from the wound, and nothing serious happened. Murong Cheng was weak for a while just now. It was only because of excessive blood loss. Now that he has received a blood transfusion and treated the wound, he looks almost back to normal, only his face is slightly pale. After suturing, the doctor bandaged Murong Cheng's wound, and then took away the bloody cotton, bandages, and all surgical instruments. They were just the two of them in the empty room. If it weren't for the smell of blood still lingering in the air, no one would have thought that a surgical operation had just been performed here. "Drink water." Musy Eye broke the silence first, got up, and said, "I'll get you some water." Murong Cheng took Musy Eye's hand, asked her to sit down again, and then looked at her carefully, with a faint smile in his eyes. "Are you afraid?" he asked. Musy Eye asked him back, "What are you afraid of?" "Are you afraid that I will die?" He looked at her face with great interest. "It's pretty scary." Musy Eye nodded straightforwardly. "I can't explain to my mother when I take the corpse back like this, and I can't say that you hooked up with the Huo family's lady, but the hero rescued the beauty and didn't do well, so you put your life on the line. Gone." "Ha!" Murong Cheng laughed, but his body was injured, and when he laughed, his muscles and nerves were involved, and the wound hurt, so he couldn't help frowning. Musy Eye looked at him and said, "Does it hurt?" "It hurts. Is it beautiful in your heart? If you risk your life to save someone, it's time for him to promise you with his body. Money, power, and beauties are all in his hands. How great it is." Murong Cheng laughed even harder when he heard this, but the wound hurt again. He covered the wound, and gasped for breath from laughing. "Zizi, are you jealous?" Musy Eye's expression was indifferent. She didn't understand what was so ridiculous about it. If the bullet misses a little more, maybe he will die, and he still laughs. She got up with a wooden face. You rest, I'm going home. Murong Cheng shamelessly grabbed her wrist. Don't go, what should I do if I get thirsty? If I remember, who will help me? My body is full of sweat and blood, what should I do when I start to scrub? Talked a lot.